so giddy because we restarted our school year and it is the best decision I could have made. Grab your cup of whatever. I am drinking a lovely chai tea and let's get talking. Okay, there are a few things that I want to talk about today. The first is why on earth would I decide to restart our school year? And then a little look into our morning routine, our reward system, which I just introduced. So I'm going to tell you how that's been going for us and what exactly we do. Some apps that we've been loving, how I am planning from week to week, day to day. And then last but not least, our summer plans. So the winning question of today's video, why on earth would I decide to restart our school year? Well, the short of it is I got burnt out. And this happened around the beginning of March. And that whole month of March was just so incredibly challenging for me. I really just needed to stop and do some soul searching around homeschool. I decided to take 3 weeks for spring break in order to really think about my philosophy on homeschooling and home education and, think about whether or not we wanted to continue doing this. So I seriously considered putting my kids back in school. Things just got so challenging. And then my son was having a lot of behavioral issues because of his stage in life. Like, he's a toddler, and so there are things that are changing in his brain, in his body, that lend itself to tantrums and things like that. So all of that just kind of mounted and on me, and I just felt completely overwhelmed and burnt out. When I did my soul searching for those 3 weeks, my ideas about home education were just slowly starting to shift, and I needed to reorient us. And so having a fresh start and restarting our school year was going to be the best route for us to take. Having that time to really think things through and make those changes really set us up to be successful now. So let's talk about how my morning routine has changed. Our morning routine hasn't changed drastically, but there are some realizations that I've made about it. We start off the day, the kids come down in their jammies, they eat their breakfast, and I'm up kind of getting myself ready while they do that. And then when they are ready and they're done eating their breakfast, they come back up the stairs and I help them to get ready. And what that means is I'm more so monitoring them, and I'm helping out my toddler a little bit more because he is still learning how to get himself together at the beginning of the day. I have to change his diaper because he's not potty trained yet, or at least not quite potty trained yet. And then I'm helping to make sure that things are moving along, because I was noticing that when I sent them up to do it all together on their own, it was very hectic and there was a lot of laughter and loud sounds, things like that. So it was very chaotic. But now that I'm kind of helping to supervise and monitor them as they go through their chores, their morning chores, they are much more successful at making sure all of the bases are covered and that they're ready and dressed for the day. When the kids are ready to come downstairs and start their work, I have my older two do non-negotiable assignments. The non-negotiable assignments for the girls are a list of things that I want them to accomplish every single day. The first thing is sight words, then we have phonogram sounds, and then they have to read at least one book. They practice their math facts, and then finally they do handwriting practice. Having these non-negotiable assignments are fantastic for us because it sets the expectation of what they need to do every single day, and they know what they can start working on as soon as they come down the stairs. On to my new planning system. At the beginning of this year, I talked about how I plan in my notebook, which is still true. I am still continuing to use a notebook system for planning week to week and day to day. However, the way that I plan and the way that I do things now is very different than what I was doing before. Before I show you my notebook, I do want to mention that as far as the yearly planning goes, I do that all online through Google Sheets, and I have a video on that if you're interested. It's linked below. So this right here is what I use on a weekly, daily basis to do all of my planning. And when I say all of my planning, I mean everything, every aspect of my life is in here. What I have done is I have sectioned off my notebook for different things. So one of my sections in the beginning is just a general section. It gives me overviews of my weeks. It gives me room to do my to-do lists, my brain dumps, all the things. And then I have a completely different section for homeschool lesson planning. The lesson planning section is something that I decided to include because I really needed a space to help me wrap my head around all of the different bullet points that I needed to go through for the different lessons. I am so glad that I started to implement a reward system for my kids because it has truly helped them to stay motivated to complete their work. Serena over at the Falco family was the one who inspired me to do a reward system. So ours is kind of similar to theirs. The reward system works off of a point system, and then points are turned into tokens. So each child gets their own jar and they fill it with tokens whenever they complete something. Our point system is pretty simple and straightforward. For each of the workbooks, I give them 4 points for completing all of the pages that I require of them. So at the beginning of each week, I will put a star in different colored markers. So for this past week, it was pink. And so all of their workbook pages have pink stars on them. So they know that those are the particular ones that they have to do. We have these bins for the kids that I have all of their work in. I don't really consider it a morning basket. I use something else for a morning basket, so I can show you that in another video if you're interested. So normally 4 points for the workbook. And then what happens after that is if they decide to do above and beyond, they get 1 point per page that they decide to complete. So what they start to realize is if they wait till Friday to complete one of their workbook assignments, they only get 4 points. If they do it at the beginning of the week, they have more opportunity to get additional points. So it's been really great to see how they have been challenging themselves to get their work done in a timely fashion so that they can get the most amount of points and then tokens as possible. Aside from workbooks, I also have some clipboards that have work on them. And again, those are mostly worth 4 points. And I have some additional things in there like fun books. So my oldest daughter gets a Sudoku book and some drawing books. So she'll get like 1 point for each of those when she accomplishes that. As far as our non-negotiable assignments, for sounds, sight words, and math flashcards, those are each gonna be 1 point. And then reading a book is 4 points. And finally, handwriting is 4 points. So handwriting kind of goes along with all the workbooks. I normally give 4 pages for them to do, but it's something that I absolutely want them to practice every single day. We have a whiteboard that I have put both of my older 2 children's names on. I have the days of the week listed, and then I have all of the workbooks that they're working on listed as well. So what I will do is once they complete something, I put the amount of points or I put a check mark on there. And that way we can all see what we've been accomplishing throughout the week. In addition to keeping track of all of our points on the whiteboard and then me personally having them written down in my notebook, I also have my oldest daughter keeping track of them in here. So this is something that I just introduced. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because I want her to hold herself accountable to all of the work that she's doing. What happens when they actually do fill their jars? Well, right now I have them either choosing between going to Five Below and picking out a fun prize or going to get ice cream. However, I'm starting to realize that that might be a little too much for having them fill up their jar just once. The reason why I say this is because my kids did recently fill up their jars and they decided to go all in on getting ice cream together, which was fun, but it was very expensive. So I'm trying to rework it so that they need to really fill up their jar a couple of times to get some of those bigger prizes. I don't have anything like a treasure chest with little doohickeys and things like that because I'm just not a fan of those types of prizes. They get used once, they get thrown away, and there isn't much value in that. So I want them to really cherish the experiences that they get to have out of being rewarded for their good work. In a previous homeschool update, I talked about how my perspective on the use of devices has changed dramatically. Right now, each of my children have their own devices that they can use only for learning apps. So the 3 learning apps that we use are ABC Mouse, which goes up to grade 5. And then we have Homer, which my oldest daughter aged out of, and my rising first grader, my middle daughter, is starting to age out of. So really it's going to be mainly for my son, who is 2.5. And then we have Reading Eggs, which right now I'm just using with my oldest daughter. And though all of those apps have been so helpful for my kids to continue to engage in learning, in reading books, in watching educational videos. And they really do come away with a lot of knowledge. And I can tell that these apps are really reinforcing all of their basic skills in math, reading, writing. And it's really fun to see how much they are enjoying them and how much they are learning through these apps. As far as summer plans goes, it's pretty straightforward. We are going to homeschool through the summer, and we have breaks in between because we are taking a vacation with some friends. We're doing vacation Bible school, and then I am sending my oldest daughter to a ballet summer dance camp, which I'm really excited about. I think that she is going to have a blast doing that. It's only half day, and then they have a performance at the end of the week. So that's kind of how we're dividing up the summer. We have all of these wonderful things sprinkled in, and then we have the days during the week where we can do some more exploration, be with friends, and go and take some fun trips. So needless to say, we are ready and excited for this summer of homeschooling. Thank you so much for joining me today, mamas. I hope that this video was helpful for you and maybe gave you some inspiration for things that you might want to do with your kids and your homeschool. Take care, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.